Hello, tea friends. This is Barb Gully of Barbs Tea Service, and we are back in the studio, courtesy on TV Studios. I'm here, as always, with studio engineer, co-host at Arm Candy, Chris Gully.
Here we are.
Hi, Chris.
Hi.
So this is a really special podcast.
Every podcast is special, but
You got a point.
This is specialist.
Super special.
All right.
So this is our 36th podcast in the studio.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And a very special edition because happy anniversary.
Has it been a year?
It has.
Wow.
A year ago, this week, we launched our first BTS podcast.
Okay.
And that's quite exciting.
It is. Yeah. Who knew?
Right. Who knew?
Yeah, that's right.
So, fortunately, we've had the great help of folks here at On TV Studios.
They have been so patient.
We're so patient. So, for the occasion, what I did was I cataloged our podcast.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And put some fun.
For our retrospective.
Yes, for our retrospective. Some fun topics that we've covered and statistics.
Right.
So it's a highlights episode.
Yeah.
And we're using the term highlights loosely because, as you know, our aim is like taking a page from Meghan Markle.
Okay. Uh-oh.
Oh, with love, Meghan, I
Okay.
should say. We don't aim for perfection.
And we don't ever get it.
We know, never.
Okay.
But we aim for joy.
There we go.
Okay, so for today, at a very high level, we are going to try and cover things that we've covered in the past, including teas that we've sampled,
All right.
etiquette,
Yes.
tea rooms,
Okay.
where we've been geographically,
Mhm.
royals, presidents, holidays, Downton Abbey, Gilded Age, Jane Austen, and Bridgerton.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's basically your BTS bingo card.
Nice.
All right.
Okay.
But first, tea.
Well, a little different sound effect for our anniversary. Here we go.
It is.
Is that silly or what?
Oh, that is. So today we're doing something very different in honor of our anniversary,
Yes.
and that is sparkling tea.
Wow.
Yeah. So, Chris, do you want to show camera 3?
All right, I will. Here we go. There it is. Okay.
Okay. So this is Blanc from the Sparkling Tea Company.
Right.
All right. And there it is.
Mm-hmm.
You can see it very well?
Yes,
Okay. So
very
let's
good.
go back and let's take a little sample
All right,
of
here we
this.
go. Okay.
First, I want to propose a toast.
Thank you.
Oh, to you.
Yeah. We're trying to do it right.
To you.
Okay.
As well as all our loyal listeners and hopefully some new folks who are going to be loyal listeners, the folks at On TV Studios, and of course, always to my studio engineer, Arm Candy co-host, and husband,
All right.
Chris.
Back at you.
Thank you.
All right. Oh, that's good. That's a little bit on the tart side,
Definitely on the tart side.
but very very quaffable. That's a kind of a it's really kind of a summer on the patio.
I like it.
Just kind of you're just easing into the evening sort of thing.
Right, with maybe some fresh fruit
Yep.
and some cheese, light cheeses.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd go charcuterie, but
Yeah,
definitely
okay. Yep.
the meats part.
Very good.
I like this.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So you're picking up the tartness.
Yes.
So let me tell you what it's comprised of.
All right.
It is de-alcoholized white wine.
Okay. Grape juice.
Yes.
Okay.
And excuse me. It has a lot of herbal teas in it.
Okay.
So we've got pear, grape, lemongrass,
Okay.
apple for sure.
Oh yeah. I think that's kind of that Granny Smith apple.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Orange peel, sunflower petals. It also has green tea, jasmine tea, white tea, oolong tea, and a little bit of sugar.
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on.
All right.
Yes. So you purchased this at Trader Joe's.
I did. It was one of my, one of my finds. They have a, it's a fun place to shop. It's kind of you're not sure usual grocery store, and they've got all kinds of interesting things, which I kind of keep my eye out for. And then I saw this. It was kind of actually in the beer section, and I took a look at it and thought, oh, this will be fun. This will be a fun thing.
It is, and I was so excited when you brought it home because there's also a rosé that you brought home.
Yes, right.
And we're going to try that.
Excellent.
Sometime soon.
Okay.
But when you brought it home, I was like, oh, this would be perfect to celebrate
Yes.
our anniversary. So this is the first time we tried it, and
All right.
I like it. I think I would recommend this.
Very good.
But this is made by the Sparkling Tea Company.
Okay.
I didn't know anything about it until you brought it home.
Yes.
So I looked it up.
Right.
And its origin story goes back to 2010.
Okay.
Copenhagen, Denmark.
Ooh, international.
Yeah. Oh, yes. And so it was created by a gentleman named Jacob Kosimba.
Okay.
I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
It's a good try.
Good try. Sure.
Yeah.
And he was a sommelier at a Michelin star restaurant.
Okay.
And this is his story.
Right.
He says that he was having trouble trying to find a wine to pair with a certain dessert.
Okay.
Even though
Yes.
he had access to a wine cellar that housed over 1,700 bottles of wine.
So many choices, and he couldn't pull the trigger.
He couldn't.
All right.
So he came up with this tea extract, kind
Okay.
of this tea blend he put together.
Right.
Very popular
Okay.
at the restaurant. So that became
Right.
in demand. So he put it up to the next level in 2017. He partnered with a guy named Bo Sten Hansen.
Okay. Another Swede. or Dane, I should say. Sorry.
They're Scandinavian.
Yeah.
You can't tell.
You mix them up. Right. Okay.
Okay. And so in 2017, he partnered with Bo, and Bo's very strong in marketing
Right.
and business development.
Right.
So he was the one that put all the sparkling teas in different countries for sale,
Right.
as well as the U.S., and that's how we got it.
Very good.
Okay, so I'm going to say cheers again.
Here we go.
right.
This actually grows on you.
All right.
Yeah. That first
Yes.
is very, kind of on your tongue, but it does mellow out. I think probably sitting in the open kind of helps out.
Yeah, I agree. So it is good. Okay.
All right.
So before we go on, I do have a correction from our last podcast.
Okay. We strive for correct information, don't we?
Right.
More or less.
Not right. Correct. We are okay with little imperfection, but if we know we've made an out-and-out mistake,
Yeah.
we
Cop to it.
We do.
All right.
So last week we had Twining's Lady Grey.
Right.
And I was referring to it as Lady Jane.
You had it in your head and
Stuck. And Lady Jane Grey. It's just simply Lady Grey.
All right.
And in podcast 16, we talked about the origin story of Earl Grey.
Right.
And he was the Prime Minister of
Right.
England in the 1830s. And there's a whole bunch of this folklore.
Yeah.
Some of it is very questionable.
Right.
But he was supposed to be the first person who was given Earl Grey. It was a black tea with bergamot.
Right.
And his wife really liked it, and she served it to her social group in London. And so when Twinings created, fairly recently in the 1990s, they created Lady Grey.
Right.
It was to honor Earl Grey's wife.
Right.
Not Lady Jane Grey,
Yeah.
who is another historical figure in England.
That's an easy mistake to make.
It is. So Lady Jane Grey was actually Queen of England.
Right.
For a short time. Do you know what her nickname was?
Probably Short Timer Queenie. I don't know.
Well, you're on the right track.
Okay.
So she was known as the 9 Days Queen.
Okay. That is a short period of time.
It is. So in July of 1533, she served 9 days.
Right.
She was between Edward VII
Okay.
and Henry VIII's only son.
Right.
A legitimate son.
Right.
And Mary.
Right.
Tudor.
Right.
So she's in between them.
Right.
15 days, and she's ousted.
Right.
Mary takes over. She's got her group.
And Mary was a predecessor to Queen Elizabeth.
That is correct.
Right. Just for kind of historical context.
Right.
Okay.
Half sisters. Right.
Right. Did not get along.
They did not get along. And poor Lady Jane,
Right.
she's only 15 or so when
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
made queen. Nothing odd in her control.
Right.
Her father pushed all this agenda.
Mhm.
Later, he's tried for treason. She was kind of off the hook for a little bit.
Yeah.
But later in February
Yeah.
of that following year, she is executed along with her husband
Right.
and her father.
There's that line, was it, if you come with the queen or come with the king, you best not miss. And they kind of missed.
Oh, I mean, can you imagine
Yeah.
Just how the loyalties were swinging back and forth?
Right.
So that's kind of a sad,
It is, yeah.
definitely a sad
Yeah.
time in English history. Not connected to Earl Grey.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have
Yeah.
that tea baggage,
No.
if you will.
Wow. Okay.
All right.
Yes.
All right. So, as I mentioned, let's talk about Earl Grey, because when we've done, not including today, we've done 36 podcasts.
Right.
And the reason is we did one remote with
Right.
our son Rob
Sure.
at his house.
Yeah.
And so I tallied up all the different teas that we've had.
Really?
Kind of categorized them, yeah.
Okay. Nice.
And of the 36 teas, how many do you think were some blend of Earl Grey?
A lot.
Yeah.
I wasn't keeping track. Right.
Well, found out we've had 8 different Earl Grey blends.
Really?
8. So
Okay.
that's one less than the term of Lady Jane.
Okay. Wow.
Okay, but here's the rest of the breakdown. So
Right.
Earl Grey, of course, is a black tea, but kind of we put that in its own category.
Sure.
So outside of Earl Grey,
Uh-huh.
we had 14 other black teas.
Okay.
And then another subcategory. I know these are black teas, but we had 3 breakfast teas.
Oh, okay. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and we covered the big 3.
Right. Scots, Irish, and English.
Exactly.
Right.
We did 2 white teas.
Okay. All right.
All right. We did an oolong,
Uh-huh.
a Darjeeling,
Okay.
2 green blends,
Right.
Lapsang Souchong,
Okay.
one of those.
Yeah.
And then we did 4 different ginger teas.
Wow. Interesting. Okay.
It is. And that was thanks to our special guest.
Right.
Coincidentally,
Yes.
all our special guests like ginger tea.
That's true. How weird is that?
It kind of is strange.
Yeah.
Well, in a good way.
Yeah. They're not strange. They're just, never mind.
they're not at all. So that gets us to our special guests. And
Right.
we love having special guests. We've had 4.
Right.
So we want to thank Rick and Carol,
Mm-hmm.
and we want to thank Megan
Right.
and Rob.
Yes.
And then we'll thank Rob again
Yeah.
and again.
Okay.
He's been our special guest 3 times.
And a good sense of humor.
He does have a good sense of humor. So what we like about having special guests, and you don't have to drink ginger tea.
No.
No, that's not a requirement.
No.
But if you want to, you can.
Yep.
But the nice thing about having special guests is they bring new topics
Right.
that we might not
Sure.
we might not know about,
Right.
or we wouldn't have put on the agenda
Right.
otherwise. So some great causes we've learned about with
Okay.
our special guests.
We have.
With Rick and Carol, we talked about Toastmasters and their special group, Confident Communicators.
Yes.
With Megan,
Right.
she talked about an organization near and dear to her heart.
Mm-hmm.
That was Animal House.
Right.
They foster cats.
Right.
And actually, we got a little taste of.
We did. Yeah. We had to do a little pet sitting last weekend to cover for some traveling people.
Yes,
And you made friends with a foster cat.
I did. So shout out to our pet buddies from last week.
Yeah.
Tara, who's going to be 17 in April.
Wow. Yes. Still getting into stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
great story. And
Yeah.
she can barely
Yeah.
amble up the stairs, but she's going to chase after those
Yeah.
lake rats
That's
and
right.
things.
Yeah.
Okay. Not rats really, but beavers. And then I had my buddy Norman,
Yes.
and wonderful. It was a lot of Zyrtex and a lot of Flonase, but
Yeah.
a good cause.
Sacrifices must be made.
That's right. Okay. So when we had Rob on board,
Right.
we had we put him kind of on the hot seat with a
Right.
few etiquette quizzes.
Yes. We like to do that.
We do. I mean, why not?
Yes, right.
What are your children?
He's not going anywhere.
And since he was in preschool, he
Right.
always turned a multiple choice test into an essay.
Yeah. It's a superpower.
It is a superpower, and he's been very successful at that.
Right.
So we applaud that. But It was when we had it was kind of one of our, we'll talk about some of the controversies we've discussed over the year. And one of the controversies was with the etiquette quiz we gave to Rob.
Yes.
It was you and Rob against each other.
Right.
And it was on the topic of finger foods.
Oh, yeah.
Or if you use utensils.
Right.
We got a lot of backlash on our correct answer.
Yes.
That French fries, you use a knife and fork.
That's so weird.
It's the backlash, or that's
all of it.
Yeah. Okay.
That was a thing.
Yes, but I'd say I want to remind people that in context,
right.
If you're in a drive-through at fast food,
right,
you're not going to take out your good silverware, right?
You should.
Okay. All right. So other things that we talked about.
Right.
We talked about trips in the past year and a half that we had done.
Mm-hmm.
And then we kicked off in March of 2024.
Yes.
And we started out with talking about our trip. We talked about our trip to New York.
Right.
And the escape to the chateau.
Yes. What a great show that was.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
So that was in Manhattan. That was with Dick and Angel Strawbridge.
Right. And just in case you're not familiar, this was it was kind of a different take on a home improvement show. It takes place in France, and it's literally a rundown chateau in France, southeastern France, I think, or southwestern France, I should say. And so they the series is done. They've done all their stuff.
Right.
So they're kind of they were on the road kind of talking about their experiences, and it was very well done. It was a very good evening. And they had a little meet and greet afterwards.
Right. So I had interviewed Angel back in January, a year ago, January, and it came out in the Tea Time magazine issue, April 2024.
Right.
So after the show, we had a meet and greet with them.
Yep.
And it was wonderful, just like how they are on TV.
Yeah.
And that's where you resurrected your arm candy title.
Well, yeah. So Dick Strawbridge, they're getting so much energy from this. They seem to like people. Who knew?
They do. Oh
so
my God.
Anyway, and he's got actually a bit of his own career previous to this on British TV and that kind of reality shows and that sort of thing. So very, very nice, affable guy. He shakes my hand and he says, were you dragged here by your wife? And I said, no, I'm just the arm candy. And he thought that was clever.
Oh, he loved that. He was telling everybody, this is her arm candy.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. Okay. So other memorable things from that March, the episodes that we talked about, or the topics that we talked about in the March podcast. We also talked about the tea room, Lady Mendel's.
Yes.
In Manhattan. That was the first time we really had a multi-course food and tea pairing.
Yeah, that was really a lot of fun.
It was, and it kind of inspired us to move forward with that. And then we went to the Morgan Library, where we're going back because they have a Jane Austen exhibit this summer.
This is an anniversary year for her?
It is her 250th anniversary.
She's looking old.
Okay. And then in our first podcast, you also outed us.
I did.
Because of our prize winning prowess, I guess. The previous fall we had been to England and Scotland, and we went to Bath, spent some time in Bath, and we did the Bridgerton tour.
Yeah, so that's where they filmed a lot of the exteriors for that Netflix series, and it was very interesting. And our guide was a character.
He was. Yeah. He was hilarious.
Yes.
But he gave us a quiz at the end of the tour.
Right.
And
it was a special prize.
It was a special prize. First prize got a chocolate bar.
Yeah.
And I came in first, and you came in second.
That's right.
But then you noted in the podcast the other side of the story that we don't normally share.
It was just the two of us on the tour.
So someone was going to be a winner.
Yeah.
All right. And then we also hit on another controversial topic right from the get-go. It was Michelle Frankel.
Yes.
Her advice on what to do if your tea tastes bitter.
Yes.
Add salt.
Yeah.
This created a big brouhaha. This was from her book, Steeped: The Chemistry of Tea.
Yes.
And Dr. Frankel is amazing. She was, we have an interview with her in the blog from
Right.
last year if
Right.
people are interested. But that was, again, a big deal, putting salt in tea.
Right.
It was just a solution to a,
A problem you didn't know you had.
right,
Okay.
right. Okay, so let's move on because
All right.
we don't have a whole lot of time, but just some of the topics. We
Right.
talked about tea rooms in New York that we had visited
Right.
in the past year, the Plaza, Brooklyn High-Low, Whistling Tea Kettle.
Right.
And the Whistling Tea Kettle, this was kind of fun because you had,
Oh, there it was a scone. Was it a scone BLT or something like
it's
that?
called the Scone Witch.
Scone Witch. Yes. Yeah.
And in tea etiquette,
Yeah.
we say there's several correct ways to eat a scone.
Right.
But one way is incorrect is to eat a scone like a sandwich.
And this thing was stuffed like a sandwich.
And it's called a Scone Witch. So, like,
I had no choice.
you had to. That was very, very cool.
Yeah.
And then we talked about some tea rooms in Italy,
Right.
Babington's in Rome, Cafe
Right.
Florian. Both have been in Tea Time magazine
Right.
articles that I've written. And then in England, our all-time favorite was the London Ritz.
Right.
We talked about Ireland. We talked a lot about the tea in that jail.
Right.
So, and then in Scotland
Right.
with Matt and Jen, we had afternoon tea at Prestonville.
Right. The manor.
Oh, amazing.
Yep.
I want to go back.
Okay.
And then our tea rooms in France,
Mm-hmm.
Mariage Frere, Angelina's, and probably the most French experience of them all, Paris Ritz.
Oh yeah. Right.
So just a quick recap. The London Ritz,
Yep.
it's all pomp and circumstance.
uh-huh.
And you're in this
Yep.
cream and gold infused room.
Right.
You've got the string quartet in the
Uh-huh.
corner.
Yeah.
The waiters and waitresses come out in the
Yeah.
white jackets with the towels and
Yeah.
the silver serving
Yeah.
accoutrements. And it's just amazing.
Yep.
At the Paris Ritz, they give us our 3-tiered tray.
Right.
Here you go.
Yeah. And go off and smoke a cigarette.
So, those are some of my peoples.
Yes.
All right. And then we talked about Austria in Vienna,
Right.
the Sacher Hotel,
Right.
and our trip to Schönbrunn
Mhm.
Palace, home of the Habsburgs, and also Outwarns.
Oh yes.
Those
Okay.
things that are old, people don't use them anymore, but now they're getting repurposed.
Yes.
Salt cellars
Yeah.
and knife rests.
The knife rest. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
And I could go on and on as I have, and people have said, move on. Okay.
Okay.
Then Montreal,
Okay.
we talked about poutine.
Yes.
I'm good with not having poutine for another year. Are you?
Yes, absolutely. It's
And
been done.
It's been done, and that kind of carried us for a few months.
Right.
Then we had lunch at Mark Shaman.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
That's my family roots.
Yes,
Kind of cool. And then Expo 67.
Right.
That was cool because they still had the remnants of
Right.
Expo 67, and we were both there as children.
Yes.
Didn't know each other then. But.
Yeah.
All right. And then we talked about our interview with Lady Carnarvon.
Yes. Okay.
That was in Newport, Rhode Island. Rachel and I met her. And this came up because it was featured in the August-September Tea Time magazine last year.
Right.
And she was in Newport when Rachel and I met up with her for a Gilded Age Downton Abbey event.
Right.
We toured some of the buildings, or the homes, where they do HBO's Gilded Age.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Uh-huh. And then, and speaking of that, you and I, we were in upstate New York last summer
Right.
with Matt and Jenna. We went to Troy,
Uh-huh.
New York, also did a HBO Gilded Age tour
Right. Yes.
of some of the filming sites.
Yeah.
They use that as Old New York.
Right. Right.
That was really neat.
It was fun.
It was fun. Okay, and then we along with some of the etiquette that we've shared, we've given some tea storage
That's
tips.
right. Okay.
We talked about the 3 enemies of tea.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember what you said?
Yeah, I was put on the spot, so as I do, I make stuff up, and I think it was partying too hard, communism, and at the time I couldn't come up with a third.
2 was good.
Smart alecky
Yes.
answer to that. But you're about to tell us what they are.
They are. It's sunlight, moisture, and temperature.
Well, that makes too much sense.
Okay. Maybe staying up too late. Too.
Okay.
Okay. Then we talked about holidays. We covered all the holidays as they came.
Right.
July 4th, we talked about Boston Tea Party.
Right.
Lapsang Souchong, because that was one of the teas that was overboard. Bastille Day.
Yes.
Did Marie Antoinette really say, let them eat cake?
Oh, yes. Oh.
And then Labor Day,
Uh-huh.
wearing white after Labor Day.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of showed the way with wearing white. It was
Okay.
very good.
Yep.
And we had white tea. We also, in October, had International Podcast Day.
Mm-hmm.
And then in November and December, we kicked off the holiday season with some dining tips.
Right.
We talked about Thanksgiving, Christmas,
Okay. Yes.
and competitive tablescaping.
Yes.
We even had a lovely tablescape for the holidays.
We did.
St. Patrick's Day, just recently, we talked about our happy and sad tour of Ireland.
Right.
And then January, Hot Tea Month. February, Valentine's Day, we talked about our tea and chocolate
Yes.
pairing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And presidential homes. Chris, do you know how many we've been to in the past 5 years?
Well, you set a goal
Yes.
of 2 at the beginning of the year, and we've blown our quota.
We have.
Right.
We have. So we've hit 5 in the past year altogether. So we had Coolidge, Harding, Carter, Polk, and Lincoln.
Yes.
Just recently, Rutherford B. Hayes.
Yeah,
That's
we're-
always
We're hitting all the hot spots.
we are. And I actually at Plymouth Notch, that was Calvin Coolidge's
Right.
homestead.
Mm-hmm.
That was the maple tea I brought
Oh,
back
yeah,
because
yeah.
it was in Vermont.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
That was probably the only tea that we really just
Yeah. It just wasn't a thing.
that it wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
And then we talked about our trip to Hungary, Heron, China,
Right.
and the Gabor sisters.
Yes.
Get your recipe for hot water soup.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
And then we went, then we did, let's see, we did Oakland Mall, the closing of Macy's,
Right.
the Amon-Ra St. Brown cake,
Right.
and Lions afternoon, Detroit Lions inspired afternoon tea.
There you go. Yes.
I hope that catches on.
I hope so too.
Tea drinking with Gen Z and millennials.
Okay.
And then we talked about Assam tea,
Right.
real interesting history of tea in India. And you shared some of your memories from
right.
India.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, we had to talk about With Love, Megan.
Yes.
And here we thought they were focusing on, a lot of the critics were focusing on some things that I thought, hey, she talked about liking Jack in the Box.
That's right.
And I said, what if she goes through a drive-through?
Yes.
And you came up with
Burger King. Yeah.
Now I'm going to do a callback because I think then if she does that, she could use a knife and fork.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to say also we talked about who's entitled to a title because she's the Duchess.
Right.
We mentioned that you are Lord of Glencoe. And I just wanted to show everybody, if I can get this on camera 3 real quick.
Oh, sure.
And I'm going to put that in front of the wine.
Okay. All right. Hey, look at that.
You have a sticker that says I'm a lord. So it is official.
All right. Well, I hope I don't get beaten up.
Good. And one quick thing while we're talking about lords.
Right.
And we've got, what, a minute?
About a minute and a half.
All right. My friend Barb T, she sent me a clip featuring Peter Jackson.
Right.
He did all the Lord of the Rings, the director.
Right.
Do you know while he was filming, he had up to 22 cups of tea a day?
That's a lot of tea.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
They better have those porta potties close by, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to remind everybody that a lot of these stories we'll put links to the blogs. Also, those good causes.
Right.
Animal House, Confident Communicators. We'll post links in the comment section.
Right.
And boy, that is a year in 30 minutes.
And you got it done.
You too.
All right.
All right. I want to say cheers again.
Very good.
And do I hear that sound?
Here we go. Oops.
Oh, we put the tea kettle back on.
Yeah.
So I want to thank everyone who's been listening / watching. I want to thank ITV Studios again. And, of course, my co-host, Arm Candy, Chris Gully. Cheers. And we'd like to say to everyone, please stay tuned.
Excellent.